What's going on, everybody? This is Randall Barnes, the founder of HBCU Pulse and the host of HBCU Pulse Radio, in the building for another special edition of the show on today, where we are talking about the season finale of the Coach Vick Experience. It aired on BET on Wednesdays at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central, but the series is now, the season is now over. We hope that the series continues for as long as Vick is at Norfolk State and maybe after. So definitely excited to see what happens with that. I have Kiya Wimbush-Robinson in the building, Clutch Points writer, and also Virginia State University alumna and Norfolk State University alumna. Kiya, how you doing today?
I'm good, Randall. How are you?
I'm good. So we've been doing this for 8 weeks and the series is over. And like I predicted, because I didn't fully know, because when we got the announcement, I don't think it said 8 episodes when we found out about the show, but it was 8 episodes. Like, it's done. It's over with. It just sort of ended. And I'll tell you what, it ended. All of a sudden, Martin comes on 3 straight episodes, like within the span of like a 2 hours. It's just like went from Divorce Sisters Club to the Coach Vick Experience.
Why are you so funny?
It was just a very interesting experience, just watching BET, watching the Coach Vick Experience. Of course, me being on there, I thought that was really cool. And I did do my research, Kiya. I did not say that Norfolk State is not good. I want to just reemphasize that, because I actually put it in the episode we did on last week, and I'm not going to play the clip now because I have to load it. But I said that Delaware State secondary wasn't good. That was sort of funny, like, because I'm like you, but like I said, I am a good sport because I was on BET and I made it a moment that Instagram suppressed, because Instagram, they were like, your moment not that big. Like Facebook said, your moment ain't that big, sir. So
I'm so weak.
like,
Well,
I tried. That experience was crazy. I'm still reeling from it. I talked about it on the latest episode of the show on Sirius XM, the podcast, and all the different stuff like that. And I really don't think that Norfolk State was bad in the way that I was made to make it seem in that video, but also just watching the on the field product. And I think that with this episode, it sort of encapsulates everything I thought was wrong with the Coach Vick Experience as like a real life experience and not the show, is that Michael Vick needed to learn and grow as a coach. That Howard University cinematic game was asinine. It was, honestly, I've been a sports fan nearly all of my life. I've not been a huge football fan. I've been a basketball guy. But over the past few years, I can say like I'm at least a HBCU football guy and I know my football enough, right? I've never seen nothing like that. That was horrible. Like how he was talking on that sideline, and then all of a sudden, now you decide, Kyrie, go in the locker room. Now you decided on the last game.
Kyrie should have been in the locker room. And that was something like as I was watching it. And I'm just like, and I think that's honestly been like my problem with him, like during like the whole duration of the show, is that he always makes the right decisions when it's too late, when it no longer matters. It's the last game. Kyrie should have been out. Like the way how he like was talking to like the players at the end of the season, should have been talking to that boy, because this isn't like a one-time thing. He's gone to a fight in almost every single game. And then when you told him, oh, what happened? He's like, oh, why don't you tell me?
Yeah, and so that moment was when he said that the Howard player spit on him, and then Michael Vick is like, well, why didn't you tell me? Because Michael Vick probably would have kept him out there and probably would have ridden for him. But I just think that in general, what Michael Vick lacked in what they showed on this, season, is a level of like discipline and development. Those are 2 D's. He's missing discipline and development, disciplining his players and instilling discipline in them, but also development. Because from Kyrie Moisten, from week whatever, like week 1, he's a great player, but he's still doing these ticky-tack penalties. And then you have to eject him from the last game. Then how he did Vincent Berry, I was done with that. Like how he did Vincent, and like I want to set it up for the people. So Vincent stepped in because Otto got injured in the North Carolina Central game. And also, Israel Carter decided to hit the transfer portal. So because of that, he can't just go out and start playing again because he's a redshirt. If he starts playing again, now he's not a redshirt anymore, and then he doesn't get that year he's trying to maintain as he enters the transfer portal. So Vincent Berry comes in that North Carolina Central game, actually does pretty well, and they showed it in the show. Michael Vick's cheering for him. So those last two games against Morgan State and against Howard, he didn't do well. So literally, you got Michael Vick doing his exit interviews for the year, which is standard. He did his thing there. And then he says, I don't even want to talk to him. I hope that was a cruel joke. I hope that was something that wasn't real. I hope that was, nah, man, we just playing. Come on here. Because you like to do that to a player, then especially a quarterback, that was egregious, and that didn't make him look like the dope coach, the disciplinarian that don't take no stuff. That makes him look like a blank, okay? A blank is all I'll say.
A AH. Because I did not like that at all. Because honestly, like, first and foremost, the reason why I did not like that is because if that was Izzy, you would have had him in your office. You would have given him a nice little pep talk. So for you to just basically say like, "Oh, the season's over. I don't want to talk to him," that was not okay. Where's like like when it comes to like something else like I noticed about Michael Vick that I particularly did not care for, he extends certain levels of grace to certain players. Like certain players get all these chances and they get to do this, get to do that. But then other players, you'd be so quick to be like, oh, forget you, da da da. Like that's not okay. Because just like comparing, you know, what's his name, Vincent, to Kyrie. Curry should have been out the game. He should have been on that bench. But you benched him the last game. So then now you got this third string player who came out pretty strong, had a few mishaps, and now you're talking about some, oh, I don't want to talk to him no more. Like, that's not okay. So it's just like he pick and choose who he really want to extend grace to, and I don't think that's fair. Because even with Izzy, first game, Izzy showed you he could not perform, and you still let that man start the next week. So that grace you have for Izzy, that grace you've been trying to have for Kyrie, where's that grace for Vincent at? And another thing that I did not like, he talking to these people about what he did, what he did, what he did. What did you do? Not once did I hear, as a coach, this is how I could have done better. No accountability. This isn't just on the players. It's just not on your other coaches as well. This is on you. You are the coach. You are the head football coach. So you play a part in this. But you talking about the players, the coaches. Not once I hear, oh, as a coach, I could have done this better or I could have done this differently. No, you act like you was just perfect and you weren't, and that's why you lost. And I hate to be so like forward about it, but that's not fair. Like the way he did it, that was not cool at all.
Listen, to be honest, like you're not being forward at all. Like people say worse in this sports space, Kaya. Like they are like they be going off.
Nice because I know we can't cuss up here. I'm trying to be nice.
But even like, of course we can't cuss, but even if you did, it would it wouldn't be half as bad as how a lot of these folks in this sports media space talk about players and coaches, even the ones in college. We're really being constructive. Like we're really being highbrow.
Nice because I'm just like, that was not nice.
It encapsulates for me this is what I gathered from this last episode. Okay. And I want to go deep with it in the time allotted. Okay. Deion Sanders goes to Jackson State, and we talked about it before. He has success. He had a sort of mid season. It was like a mid season because it wasn't a full season in spring of 2021. He won some games, lost some games, wasn't in that spring SWAC championship. But he said, "Get me now." And then he goes that fall. His sons come in, Shador, Shiloh, a couple of other players he recruited. They immediately run through the SWAC and make the Celebration Bowl. He then gets Travis Hunter, the number one or number two, depending on what metric. He gets that player that was at Florida State, flipped him, made headlines. He comes to Jackson State. Kevin Coleman, who was another highly touted recruit, comes to Jackson State. Shador improves as a quarterback, and you get a really solid team, and you flip some guys from FBS programs. You get on 60 Minutes. Everybody is obsessed with Jackson State, Deion Sanders. College game day comes down. You have the who is SWAC moment after Eddie Robinson Jr. and Deion get into it over the quote Obama bro hug. That's what Eddie Robinson Jr. called it after Deion was talking crazy about Alabama State leading into that homecoming matchup. He became a phenomenon. Like when Sway, the remix god, who is an Albany State alumnus, by the way, he made a who is SWAC? I am SWAC, baby. Like that whole thing, it became a phenomenon. And then he leaves and he has all these different offers and he decides to go to Colorado. And then we see what that did those first 3 games at Colorado and all the attention and acclaim he got, right? A lot of people, I believe, saw that and they already probably wanted to get into coaching, but they were like, man, let me get at this HBCU, be this superstar, get these really good players, make them good, and then leave and go on to my next high-paying FBS job like Deion. But it don't work like that. And Michael Vick is figuring that out. And here's the first reason why I know he probably thought it was going to be a Deion Sanders experience. I think that he found out it was going to be a Deion Sanders experience when it came to his family having to be so far away from him. And then also, for some reason, them having an aversion to being in Virginia. Is it that bad in Virginia, Kaya? Is it that bad?
It's not bad to live in Virginia, but I will say, like, and this is like no shade, like to the 7-5 and like all the people that's down there, going from like a major place, like if you live in a major city and you go to like Norfolk is like it's a city, but it's nothing in compared to like a DC, a New York, or maybe where they live at Miami or something like where they live.
I
So
think I think they live in Palm Beach, I think.
yeah, so like if you know cities like that, going to Norfolk is like this really big stop. You know what I'm saying? Because even me being from like the DMV and up here, going to Norfolk crazy, like it wasn't like too bad because I spent time in Virginia State and Virginia State was definitely more of a culture shock because it's really like in the I don't want to say the middle of nowhere, but like it's very country borderline. Like when I got to Virginia State, I was like, where are we? So I don't think moving to Virginia is bad, but like we're used to living like in a certain city and like having like access to certain things and being able to do certain things, it's gonna be hard to like transition to a place where it's a lot slower. Because even like with my older brother being a Norfolk State alum, my sister-in-law loved Norfolk. She wanted to stay there after they graduated. My brother was like, no. So they end up like moving back home. Like they live in Maryland now, but where they live at is super close to DC, is super close to the city. So like I don't feel like they feel like Virginia is necessarily bad, but if you are coming from a city that's like booming, like you there's so much to do. And even like imagine going from Palm Beach, Florida to Virginia Beach. Like no shade. Like it's not even me being shady, but that is kind of like that. So I don't think that Virginia is necessarily bad. But if you live in a city where there's some a little bit like more to do and it's like a different like environment, well, it's always gonna be a different environment, but like there's a certain way of living. Moving to somewhere like Norfolk, Virginia might be like a little bit there might be some resistance.
I can see that. I have only been to Virginia once, and that was Arlington. And then I went to Arlington, then went to DC. So I cannot truly speak on the Virginia experience. I'll just say that it was just interesting because as a family man, and I'm a family man in a different sense where like I am a part of a family and my family means everything. I don't have my own family, and I hope to one day have my own family. I know now I make decisions and concessions with my family in mind, like with my brother being in college and my mom and what she has going on, and my dad and what they have going on. I remember when I was working at iHeart Radio in Macon, and I didn't really like it. I liked sales. I thought that sales was interesting. I thought that the radio business was interesting from that business standpoint, but I didn't like having to go get these businesses to come, sign with me. And if I don't, I'm fired. Like I didn't like that. And then I was courted by Talladega College to come work with them and do like their social media stuff and do like, digital marketing and stuff like that for them. That was in Alabama. And Macon to Talladega is like a good drive. And it's a total like culture shock. But I was ready to do it because I was like, it's time to be a man. Like it's time for me to go out and do something on my own. And literally, and I feel open in saying this to sort of tie what I'm thinking together when it comes to Vic and his family. One of the reasons why I didn't do it, because in hindsight, it wasn't a good move. But one of the reasons why I didn't do it is because how it would have like taken my family, it would have taken my family for a loop because they had money saved up to get this new house that my family lives in now. Like they saved up a bunch of money and they were willing to blow that money to help me get a place to live and make sure I was set up and all the different things. But I was like, I don't want to do that to y'all because I understand that like I gotta live my life, but at the same time, I don't want you all to put yourselves in a bind because I know what you all are aspiring for to move this new house. And we moved to this new house like the next year. So it's like, like that, I would have set them back maybe years had I done that. That's me making a concession for my family and thinking about my family, even though I'm not looking at it from the Vic standpoint, him having his own kids and a wife and things like that. The reason why I say that is because I honestly wonder, and this is maybe a question that someone that interviews Vic can ask. Was his family on board with him going to get this, either Norfolk or California? Because I get it. I get it. Listen, I went to Fort Valley. There literally is nothing to do in Fort Valley. You have to drive to Warner Robins to go to your restaurants, a mall, all the different stuff. I get it. And then Macon has the stuff. I'm from a medium-sized city. I went to Fort Valley. I'm pretty sure at Norfolk and with the VSU, like y'all had it way better than us because we'd have nothing. But what I'm saying is that Sacramento probably would have been similar to Palm Beach, minus the taxes. Because people don't like paying taxes. But like Sacramento probably would have been fun. But at the same time, you're then uprooting your life even more because I am not a frequent flyer. I've only flown once. Maybe you can help me out with this, Kai, because I honestly do not know. But I think that Florida to Virginia is a shorter distance than Florida to California. That's like Florida to Virginia. I think even though we on flights now, we ain't on horses. Like Florida to Virginia probably is a better travel time than Florida to California every weekend. Does that make sense? I don't know. I'm not
It
a frequent
it
flyer.
does it does make sense because like if you get a nonstop, you can be from where I live at to Miami in like 2 hours.
Really? Oh wow.
Mm. And honestly, like that's why like I find flying so interesting because from where I live at to New York, if you take a plane, it's 45 minutes. So and some people do that. Like some people fly to New York all the time. Like, yeah, it's really 45
Wow.
minutes. But I feel like what made Norfolk State more appealing than California is one, Vickers from the 7-5. It kind of goes into it. I feel like in addition to him, like, wanting the opportunity, I feel like Norfolk State like fit more into his brand and what he's trying to do. One, Vickers from the 7-5. Two, his family still lives there. Three, Norfolk State's the HBCU, so he's kind of, and not even trying to say he's trying to copy Deion Sanders, but kind of like following in that Deion Sanders like lane. So, and then also too, Virginia is a lot closer than California. So I feel like those things like played a part in his decision. You know what I'm saying? And then because like I said, like, Dion did his big one when he went Jackson State and he set a standard. So I feel like a lot of like former players who are trying to get into coaching as they're like, if they're trying, I feel like a lot of people are trying to be like Deion Sanders, which I understand to a certain extent, but also too, it's kind of unfortunate because, HBCUs are great places to like be and to work. So it's just like, I don't want these people to just view HBCUs as like a placeholder or a stepping stone. Like, really, if you want to be here, be here. Like, truly invest in your program. And that's honestly like something I feel like I did not see from Michael Vick, is that I felt like he wasn't like truly invested, because I felt like there were so many opportunities for him to like step up and do more and he didn't. And we can say that like Deion Sanders is performative. I'm sure he can be performative at moments. But even with that, even with that, I still feel like there is like this genuine vibe about him that he truly cares about those boys. And I'm not saying that Michael Vick don't care, but it's just like there was a big difference to me. I felt like Deion Sanders in certain moments went a little like above and beyond, like did like a little bit more. Whereas Michael Vick is kind of just like, oh well, it is what it is type of vibe. And and like I said, like in past episodes, if you are a coach, if you are someone in this leadership position and you want to be a good leader, you simply cannot do that. You simply cannot just show up and do your job and go home. There's so much more to like to that than like to be a good leader. So I feel like him and his family making a decision for him to go to work at Norfolk, like I felt like, a part of it, wanting him to get that coaching experience, but also it fits into his brand. And also too, like, even, like, the negative aspects of his story, he got caught, like when he got in trouble, he got caught in the 7.5 too, so it's like, it's kinda giving him an opportunity to kind of, like, of course, people will never forget, but kind of, like, when they think of Michael Vick, like, in 7.57, oh, he's from, the 7.5, and then also, instead of thinking of the incident, people say, "Oh, well, he's the head coach of Norfolk State." So I feel like Norfolk State, in addition to like genuinely wanting the opportunity, was a better move for like the big brand like as a whole.
But I think because what you're saying is exactly what I think about him going to Norfolk State, because I think that Sacramento State even being a conversation for several reasons was insane. And it was insane because Sacramento State at that point, in 2024, they were trying to go FBS. And I guess they got their wish. They're going to be FBS. But Vic would have been going into a program that quite literally like was in disarray because they were trying to mold themselves into this perfect FBS program in waiting to get picked by one of those conferences. And you have Brendan Marion, who used to coach at Howard. He was their offensive coordinator. He actually helped them upset UNLV back in 2017 with Cam Newton's brother, Kalen Newton. And then he actually goes and coaches at UNLV. I believe was their offensive coordinator. That was actually pretty dope. And then he now is at Colorado. He's going to be Colorado's offensive coordinator with Deion. He got up out of there. Like, you went from being, hey, you could very well be an FBS coach if Sacramento State makes this jump, to being a coordinator for Deion. I think that was very telling. He was there for a year because right after Vic turned down Sacramento State and went to Norfolk State, Sacramento State went and got Brendan Marion, which was a great hire, arguably. And I'm going to be honest, okay? I know we're cast members, he and I, but Brendan Marion was a Brendan Marion was a better hire than me, because Brendan Marion, at least in concept, like that dude got a resume. Like he has his own like offensive style with that go-go offense, like that real quick offense that's real pretty to see. Like he has his own offensive style. Like, so it's like Brendan Marion was really a better pick to me for Sacramento State, and it didn't really work out that well for them. And he in Colorado now. So like my thing is that the Sacramento State thing just didn't make sense. But here's the thing with Vic that I think he has to understand is that the SWAC has a lot of schools, and I love the SWAC. Jackson State was literally the perfect school to go to because you have the fan base that's there. You have a school that has kind of 4 Hall of Famers in football. Walter Payton went there. Walter Payton, they have an award named after Walter Payton, the Man of the Year Award for philanthropy and charity work for the NFL players. Like that's how big Walter Payton was. And then that team in 1974 was so amazing. They have the blueprint of, hey, this is how we can win in football, right? Jackson State was right alongside Southern University and Grambling as the blue bloods in the SWAC that were winning all those championships in the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, and they had like a drought of sorts when it comes to their winning, but they needed just a really good coach to go in there and make it happen. And they got Deion, who is he a good X and O's coach? We've talked about that a lot on HBC Post Radio on the sports side. I don't think he is. We'll see what happens this next year. But as far as the CEO type of coach and building up the institution, he was really good at that. And he built a program that the only real rival that they had was FAMU and Willie Simmons. And they were able to routinely beat Willie Simmons in those 2 years. That first year was close. Second year, it was really bad. But to be fair, they had an eligibility issue at FAMU, so some of them players didn't get to play, but they got beat down. Like, we can't deny Jackson State beat FAMU down. It was crazy. So
BTA?
Yeah, very much so. Wet BTA, I'm telling you.
Wet BTA, crazy.
Yes. So basically, like, he was able to, FAMU was the only program he really had to deal with. And you're playing them the first game in the Orange Blossom Classic. You get them up out the way, you cruising to the SWAC championship. Then from there, you play Prairie View that first year, Prairie View not beating Jackson State. That second year, Southern, they had a quarterback that wasn't all that great at that point, similar to Michael Vick. And like you had that situation, to be honest, you had that situation and they switched out the quarterback in enough time. They could have probably made the game competitive, but Jackson State got them up out of there. Their problem was with the MEAC, Kiya, the MEAC in the Celebration Bowl. Hint, hint. Jackson State and Deion Sanders' problem with Travis Hunter, who went number 2 in the NFL draft, with Shedeur Sanders, who's going to be QB1 on the Browns, with Kevin Coleman. Yes, he's going to be QB1. Well, let's Deshaun Watson comes back. That's all. That's whole other story.
Because they was really trying to play with my friend like he was not like that. So I'm really happy for him.
Are you friends with Shedeur?
In my head, I am.
Okay. Okay.
Because now if you was my friend, I would be like, friend, let's get some rolling. Like,
yeah, very true. But like, you had like an NFL quarterback that was on that 2022 Jackson State team. You had Travis Hunter, a Heisman Trophy winner, the number 2 pick in the NFL draft on that team. Kevin Coleman, who went to Louisville. You had Shiloh, who ended up going to Colorado. It was a lot of great players. And all those players leave Jackson State after Deion leaves. They had a problem with 2 MEAC programs. They had a problem with North Carolina Central in 2022 and South Carolina State that went 6-5 in 2021. So here's the thing that I don't think Michael Vick figured out. Deion Sanders' Achilles heel in those bowl games was the MEAC. You have now decided, Michael Vick, to go to a conference where you got to see them guys. You got to see them literally for 5 games out the year. And then, see, Deion only had to play one MEAC team a year in the Celebration Bowl. You got to play both South Carolina State and North Carolina Central. Then Deshaun Jackson is also in your conference. It was never going to be easy. And I think, and you know, if he thinks that that's okay, he has the agency to think what he wants to think. If he thought this, he probably thought, I'm going to come in, I'm the Virginia kid, and I'm going to bring these folks in, and then I'm going to win. We going to beat South Carolina State. We're going to beat North Carolina Central. It's not going to be that easy in the MEAC. And what I said in my final recap of the Coach Vick Experience on Clutch Points is, Kiya, it might take him 3 years. It might take him 4 years. It might take him 5 years, but it's not going to be a Deion Sanders journey. It took Eddie George, who legendary running back in the NFL at Tennessee State, which they have a lot of problems going on when it comes to finances and also fighting the state legislator. It took him 4 years to really turn Tennessee State into a contender. Then he left and went to Bowling Green in Ohio, which was a great move for him as a former Ohio State great. He went back up to Ohio, right? So it's like, you have an Eddie George trajectory. You have the Deion Sanders trajectory. You have the Eddie George trajectory. And I think Deshaun Jackson in the future, we'll see what he does this next year, will be also a trajectory. All I'm saying before I pass it off to you is that I just really believe that he thought he was going to be Deion Sanders. But the thing about it is, maybe he's Eddie George. And you know what, Kiya? That's not a bad thing. Be there for 4 years, build it up, and then guess what? You might go to a smooth situation. You might get you a nice team that you take over. That's all I'm saying. I mean, and I want to say one last thing. Maybe this is my thought process too. Georgia, because I'm a Georgia guy, right? Georgia, we don't have a Division One HBCU anymore. Savannah State came back down to the SIAC in 2019. They compete, in D2. So I think that it's sort of messed up that maybe Vic couldn't go to a Division One Georgia school that's an HBCU. Because I think, Kiya, this is just me just speculating. I think if maybe Morehouse wouldn't bring him in. If it was like Clark Atlanta, I think Clark Atlanta would. If it was Clark Atlanta was D1, if it was like another, like, let's say Morris Brown like got back really, really like solvent, and then they say, hey, let's do a football team. And then like Morris Brown had a Division One football team, right? I feel like Michael Vick could have gone there, and I think maybe things would have been different for him. But I just think that he thought that this was going to be super duper easy, and in actuality, it was the opposite of easy. Like I'm saying, it was the opposite of it, and I think he needs to claim that.
I definitely agree. Have you ever watched The Proud Family?
Yeah, of course, yeah. Well, wait, which one? Which one? The
The
new one or
first,
the
the
old one?
original, the
Oh, of
original.
course, yes. Like about five
Have
times
you?
every episode.
Have you? Do you remember the episode where Penny Proud she get her credit card and she just like swiping it, swiping it, swiping it,
Yeah.
and she tried to swipe it, and Lay was like, wrong answer, forehead." That's the vibe. No, because I really thought, like, you're right. He probably thought he gonna come back to his city, gonna come back to this program, and it was gonna be sweet because he's Michael Vick. And of course, you have to have anything that you do, you have to have a certain level of confidence in yourself, like because that is the only way that you're gonna truly like. I feel really take a chance and really put forth the effort for the things that you want. Is like you have to believe in yourself. However, I feel like you said, he thought stuff was gonna be sweet and it's not. Like, and it wasn't. Like, it's really, really hard. So I feel like I really hope that for next season he comes in a little bit more humble as far as like how he moves about things. Because in addition to him thinking that this was gonna be easy, and like I said, just how he like interacted with the players specifically, it like I said, it was very much a, "Oh, well, I've been in the NFL. I'm like, I've done this. I've been there, did that." Like like I said, like very much teach you like, "Well, I got my degree already." So it's like you still have to have this certain level of humility because this is your first time being a coach. This let's put NFL accomplishments out the window. Let's put college accomplishments out the window. This is your first time being a football coach ever. You haven't done what's like the football version of AAU for basketball? Like you haven't done like club or nothing. You haven't done high school. Like this is your first time like being a coach. So you have to, yes, have confidence in yourself, but you still have to be humble because very much like you said, he thought it was gonna be sweet. And it's not. And yes, like I feel like when it comes to things in life, you can do anything that you set your mind to. And that's something I've learned this year because this, the current state of our political world and the people, if they can do it, I can do anything. I really learned that. Like if this is what is given, I can really do anything I put my mind to. So as far as like Deion Sanders is concerned, I feel like Deion and what he did, I don't want to call it like a standard, but he did like this really big thing. And because in this life we can do anything that we put our mind to, everyone thinks that they can have that same exact experience, but that's not true. So what Dion did was very special. He did his big one. But that doesn't mean that every former NFL player who decides they want to be a coach at HBC is going to have that same trajectory. And then, like the other coach that you had mentioned, who it took him a little bit longer, it is okay. As if him going to like a bigger school is his goal, it might take a little bit longer. He might not have taken Deion Sanders' role, and like he has to be okay with that. But I feel like in his journey, there is a level of self awareness and accountability that he has to start possessing. Because just touching based on what I said earlier, just him as a coach and just listening throughout the season and as the episode was coming to a close about everything that went wrong this season, not once unless I missed it, not once did I hear him say, oh, I could have shown up differently, I could have done things a little bit better. It was always about what the players are doing or what the other coaches are doing. You have to take some accountability too. Maybe I missed it. You can correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it and I just didn't hear it. um, because it just like it was like a habit, like of him when to correct behavior when it was too late. Like I said, kicking Kyrie out the last game, that boy should have been out. Let Izzy start the following week, knowing he didn't perform well. Like so, I feel like just like in my opinion, it's like he decides to make the right decision when like it no longer mattered.
What I will say, what I will give him is that he did sort of take accountability for what he did with Otto when he went up to Otto and said, "You know what, you're QB1." After I believe that Wofford game that they should have easily won, and then Izzy threw that interception. It was supposed to be like a screen pass, and then Izzy threw an interception. That was sort of that, and then towards the beginning, we saw him saying, "Hey, like, no, that was on me," but we saw a lot of "this ain't my fault, this ain't my fault," and then even to 80 Webb, it was sort of like, we're gonna figure this out. That isn't necessarily taking accountability for, I think it's taking accountability, but I think it's not taking accountability for the mistakes he made. It's taking accountability for the change he's gonna make. And the reason why I say that's different is because the accountability for the mistakes you made means that you're going to correct them in a good enough fashion to where we can see an immediate change. Taking accountability for the future is like, that's great and all, but like I could say, but I could say, hey, Kai, I'm a fly. Like, and it's like, oh, okay, I believe you, Randy. And then I don't fly. You like, I thought you were gonna fly. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, so my thing is that like he took accountability at certain points, but I think that sort of the series didn't do him justice, because I think that possibly there were moments where he was more humble. There were moments of development, but in the time allotted, that about 45 minutes allotted that they have of like pure showtime, they didn't get the opportunity to show that. And I think that another thing, just to close out, that really showed that he made some bad decisions was on the coaching staff. So we heard him consistently complain about his coaching staff, and he sort of like threw him under the bus a few times in the show, just being honest. But he had a great reason to be upset at Coach Kendrick, who is the running backs coach, calling Otto a B word. And I'm thinking in the preview, I thought that maybe a player called Otto the B word. And I was like, in my mind, I'm like, why y'all picking on Otto? Like, he just got injured. But to make it matters worse, this is a coach. And we talked about age before, where it's like these players, like, they're grown, but they're not fully grown. Although, to be honest, I disagree with that assertion, because it's like these are grown men. Okay, like these very much are grown men. That's a grown man. That man is so grown, he got gray in his beard. Okay? And you walking around calling players B words?
That's
Crazy.
that's somebody's pop. And I'm just like, see, and like when I heard that, I'm just like, they just lucky I'm not a boy. And I'm not a paper ball. Cause the way I was said, your mama. And then what?
Y'all fighting?
No, we would have been scrapping because I'm like, Randall, you already know, like, you know me outside this work stuff. I'm real chill, but I'm real spunky. Like, don't do that because I be chilling. So I just felt like it was super, one, unprofessional, to call that boy a B-word. Like, you supposed to, again, a leader. And low key, and I don't know if you caught it, um, I don't know if it was Michael Vick or someone else saying, or the other coach was saying that the reason why they got into the argument is because, although something about not passing it to the man's son or something, you can't act like that. Yes, your son is on the team as well, but you are a coach. You're not a father in the stands. And just saying, like, even a father in the stands calling a college age boy a B word, that's still not right. But you are his coach. So, like, whether, like, you can't operate from that space. You really have to, just how I felt like Michael Vick should have been very neutral when it came to Izzy being on the team. That coach, whatever that man name is, he needs to be neutral with his son being on the team too. You can't be like, oh well, my son acting like the moms from from Bring It. Like, you can't be acting like that. Like, you're a coach. So the fact that he called out the B word, I was really like taken back. So I'm just like, it is, and no shade, like, and I really don't want it, like, really, I don't know, because I could just only imagine, even if, like, even college age kids, I feel like it would just show me how, like, well, granted, I don't may or may I'm not telling his family what happened, but I just know that was like a black, somebody black, and the boy said, "Oh, mom or dad, like the coach called me the B word." Oh, there a phone call would have been made. There would have been something like, but it's just like that just was not appropriate.
It wasn't, and I want to. So his name is Andre Kendricks. He's Drayshawn Kendricks' father. So Drayshawn Kendrick actually was the very talented wide receiver and one of the better wide receivers in HBCU football. So I want to give the background on Dre Kendrick. So he was a running back, former running back. He played for Virginia Tech. He was a high school All American, and he led the Big East with 6.3 yards per carry. I believe he was Michael Vick's teammate. They went 11-1 in 1999. He was a high school college football consultant. He provided guidance to student athletes at EC Glass High School with an emphasis on strength and conditioning. Now, get this, Kai, this is where it gets interesting. He also served as a director of the MV7 experience, that's Michael Vick's camp, and founded Central Virginia Elite, an advanced youth football program. Okay, so he played with Michael Vick in 99. So let's reasonably assume he's around Vick's age. So Vick is in his early 40s. So this is a gentleman that is in his early 40s that was a great football player. So he knows how to play the position at a high level. He has a son that is on the team. He's worked with high school young men. He's worked with Michael Vick in his camps, and he also has his own youth football program. See, my problem here is that yes, he has experience, but I think that there's a lot that's basically flying with Michael Vick in that program that at some point he has to curtail. He had no problem firing one of his boys that was, I think, defensive coordinator, and also the two defensive assistants that we reported about on Clutch Points, and they showed the article on the screen. So I'm not like, I can understand him saying, listen, don't do this again. And like, I'm not going to fire you, but don't do this again. But at some point, and I don't know if Vic made any changes. And the reason why I say this, not because I'm bad at my job, but because when it comes to these announcements and the sourcing, it's like we don't really know, because it's like how HBCUs announce their staff changes and stuff. It's real weird. Like you'll just watch the game and it's another offensive coordinator. Like, oh, who's that? And like, oh, that's who this is. Like you don't really be knowing. So like I don't know if he made any real adjustments on that front outside of bringing in another special teams coordinator. Because as we saw, Torrey Whitberry went to get this Kiya another school. They didn't say Winston-Salem State, the school that Michael Vick and Norfolk State are going to be playing to start the year. Torrey Whitberry went to another school as Michael Vick threw him under the bus, like as on his way out. So it's just like, I think, and Kajafa Vick said this, and I agree with Kajafa Vick. You can't keep hiring your boys. You got to hire folks at the very least that you know are thorough. And I'll say this real quick, Kiya, is that I think that for Vic, him not being tenured in coaching, I think that it is quite possible that maybe he could have gone into the hiring process with a completely blank slate. Maybe get one or two people but the rest of the folks they not be someone Because the reason why I say this is because Deion Sanders had high school coaching experience before he jumped to Jackson State. Not a lot of it. He wasn't the head coach, but at least outside of his own school, he wasn't head coach. He was offensive coordinator at Trinity. Let me make sure I get it right. He was a head coach at Trinity. He was an offensive coordinator, at Trinity Christian High School from 2017 to 2020. He makes the jump to Jackson State. Here's the thing about Deshaun Jackson. Deshaun Jackson was an assistant coach and offensive coordinator at Woodrow Wilson High School, and he brings the head coach of Woodrow Wilson High School to be his assistant coach at Delaware State, and we see what happens. You're bringing someone that literally has been a high school coach for decades, and now he's your assistant coach, and he's your number two for that program. That made sense because Deshaun Jackson calls Travis Clark his brother. That's his name. He calls Travis Clark his brother. And that makes a lot of sense because of the experience. With Vic, there ain't no Travis Clark on this program. There ain't no Travis Clark at all.
At this point, you should have got Sharetta out the stands because, that would have made a lot more sense. And when I was talking to my niece, because she goes to Norfolk State, and I was telling her that we were just because I always like to check on her and us catch up. She's she's about to be 20, so it's I kind of have to cramp her style, even though that's my girl. So we were talking about everything, and we were talking about Michael Vick, and I was asking her, how does she feel about Michael Vick being at the head coach and everything, and she said a lot of the things that we were saying, and just to touch on, and she was he hired all his friends and da da da, and sometimes you really can't do that, and I understand wanting to bring your people with you, especially people who've held you down, but you really have to pick the people who are best for the job. You know what I'm saying? I feel for him, instead of picking the people who are the best for the job, I feel he picked people who met the job description, if that makes sense. They had the basic, granted, I don't know these men's background to the full extent. So again, this is all just my opinion and very, very loose, you know what I'm saying? But oh well, it's given oh, I got a homeboy who do this. I got a homeboy who do that. So I'm gonna call my homeboy. Yes, I understand why you would do that. But then again, if your homeboy isn't necessarily the best, then you should go down other avenues. Um, but that will be very interesting to see when they play against Winston-Salem and his old friend. Well, I don't they might still be friends. It might be no hard feelings, but just seeing him on the coaching staff of the other team.
I just want to say that they might have been cool after he left, but it might not be cool after the show, boy, because he was going off on those coaches. And then Torrey Woodbury, they specifically spot. It was so bad they showed him on camera. That was
No,
crazy.
for real. I don't remember him. I'm used to seeing the one who was cussing, and then the white man. I don't even remember seeing the one that left.
Yeah, Torrey. They showed Torrey a little bit, and they showed Torrey when he was conversing with Vic at certain elements, but they were man, special teams ain't doing good. That's on Torrey. It was
so he wasn't.
Yeah, he was special teams, but I think it was just a little bit more to that story. I didn't think Torrey was necessarily a bad hire because Torrey had been working in the HBCU space for a minute. But I'm gonna tell you the best hire he made, ironically enough, and this got a lot of controversy at the time, okay? And I'll tell you the reason why. The best hire he made was the white OC, Brian Shepard. Brian Shepard, just to let you know, he was offensive coordinator at Towson. Okay, Towson wasn't a world beater, but they of course they beat Norfolk State. But Towson was not a world beater. But he coached up a lot of really quality quarterbacks in his time. He is also a good quarterback himself. I remember writing about him. I'm looking at his resume now. He had quarterbacks throwing for over 3,000 passing yards, VMI was eighth in FCS in passing offense in 2018. They were top 20 the following year. He also coached all conference quarterbacks at Northern Arizona. Case Cookus, Mike Parrish, Indiana State. Josh Dean at Wilmette. That's a name. Wilmette. That's a crazy college name, boy. I'll tell you that much. So he was at Indiana State as an assistant head coach. He was the offensive coordinator there. Like he was there a lot of different places. If I'm not mistaken, he also coached. He coached Joe Ferreira. These names, Joe Ferreira, who went to play for the Detroit Lions, and then he coached someone else that was really fire. Because I remember I wrote about it. I'm trying to figure out who it was. He coached like a really quality like quarterback that was like showed how talented he was at developing quarterbacks and really like leading offenses. So when he hired him, I was like, this guy's cool. But like the criticism, Kaya, was that like you a black coach, why don't you hire a black man? And I was like, I get that because I think that the meritocracy thing is used in a real crazy way in our socio political conversations about meritocracy. But meritocracy only matters with the context that people apply to it. I think he probably could have found a Brennan Marion or a young black offensive mind to lead, that offense and to develop those quarterbacks. I think he could have done that. But I think that for what he did, dealing in reality, Brian Shepard was the guy. He was really good. And the offense, outside of when Israel was the quarterback, the offense to me was not the problem. Sure, they leaned on the run game instead of passing, especially against Delaware State in a game they probably, looking back at it, could have won if they passed the ball more. And I said it back on that clip that they showed on the show. The full context of that clip is me saying that I knew that Otto Coombs would throw for 300 yards. I said it the week before. I think it was like October. I said that Otto Coombs is going to throw 300 yards. And Ariel, my co-host, was like, oh, he's going to throw 300 yards. No, he's not. And I was like, Ariel, I swear he is. And I said, yo, he's going to throw 300 yards. He did, but they lost. And so I think that the offense outside of a couple of errors was not the problem. It was the defense and special teams. I don't think Torrey was the big issue. I think that Dre Kendrick might not have been the best hire. I think there's a couple other guys that he probably could have left in Virginia where they were at. Like, I think it was like a couple of other people that he could have brought in. And I mean, these are my fellow cast members, Kai. I'm just being honest,
Your fellow the fact that you be calling these people your fellow cast members will never not be funny. Um, but no, like I definitely get it. And again, my opinion really does not matter because I really don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to football. But because I just gotta be real, because I don't want nobody listening to this and be like, "Oh, well, she the." We've already established. I barely know what I'm talking about.
Yes, you do. Stop,
But
Kaya. You have. It's been
but
8 weeks. You're telling me you're not grown in 8 weeks, Kaya.
I've grown, but I feel like I still need some lessons. But from what I've seen, the white man, no shade, look what he know he was talking about. I'm like, okay, like he was type shit. He was locked in. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, um, but I just hope for next season that with these new players and these new coaches that they're able to find their rhythm. Because like we said, like last show, I really do hope that I really do want Norfolk State to succeed. And like I genuinely do mean that. Like I always say, if it's VSU versus NSU, VSU hands down. But if it's Norfolk State versus anybody else, it's always gonna be Norfolk State. So I just want them to get their stuff together, and I really want them to succeed. Not just like in addition to like being in the school that I graduated from, I'm also a big Michael Vick fan. So it's like I want to see him do well too. But speaking of that, like, how do you feel? I thought about it like when I was watching it because we had touched on it before like, as they're, like, closing out the episode, and I think it was the president of Norfolk State, and she was talking about Michael Vick. It was kind of like, "Oh, well," I don't remember what she said verbatim, but, like, basically, even though this season sucked and they lost, we're still behind Michael Vick, and Michael Vick is Norfolk State and all this other stuff. And I was just thinking about what you said. Like, if this was anyone else, like how they may have reacted to a season like this. Um, I do admire, like, them encouraging him, but at the same time, we gotta be real. He did not do a good job. And that's just being real. So I just hopefully, like, next season he can redeem himself.
I think that Madam President saying that was not necessarily a bad thing, because I think that there is a leeway that you have for any coach in their first season. And there's especially leeway, and I mean no harm in saying this, when it's Norfolk State football. Like, Norfolk State football has struggled over several years with several coaches. Then the years where those winning seasons were taken away from the NCAA because of eligibility issues and different things like that. So for the recorded history, they've not been that great at the Division I level. So there's leeway that anybody would have in that moment that we like, hey, like, we're not just going to fire this person. Now, it's different at Norfolk State. Let's say if Robert Jones leaves the men's basketball program. Like, Robert Jones has won the SWAC, no, not the SWAC, excuse me. He's won the MEAC title a bunch of times, and he's made it to March Madness. Like, he was on the coaching staff that upset, I forget what team they upset. It might have been Iowa State. They upset a team back in 2012 with Kyle O'Quinn on Norfolk State back in the day. So, like, he has tenure with that team, and he takes it over, and they've been a competitor in the MEAC and a competitor in the FCS in general. So, like, if Robert Jones says, hey, I'm leaving to go to this FBS school, or I'm leaving to go to this other FCS school that might pay me more money, the next person you're bringing into men's basketball, I am expecting you not to just go win a championship your first year, but I need to see incremental success. I need to see what players you're bringing in. I need to see the scheme you're bringing on the court. I need to see, at the very least, some level of forward movement to make sure that we're continuing our momentum as a winning program. But they're a winning program. Norfolk State football is not. Another example that I think is perfect. Willie Simmons was at FAMU for, I believe, 6 seasons. I believe he left in 2023 after the Celebration Bowl. He came in 2018. His first win was against Fort Valley. I was actually there. Beat us down. I tried to interview him. Couldn't find him. Okay, but I interviewed Xavier Smith, who's in the NFL. Okay, that was his first win. That was his first win. Ironically enough, I was in attendance. Okay, I was in attendance.
Randall said boots on the ground journalism.
I was boots on the ground. No, I ran. I'm telling you, like I'm telling you, like I was okay. I was on the field, and I interviewed Xavier Smith, who now is in the NFL. Okay, so yes. So
Randall, we need to wrap this up because I'm so sick of you.
But what I was saying is that, like, Willie Simmons, every year that he was at FAMU for football, they won. FAMU was struggling. He comes in, they win every year. The only problem they had for real when they went to the SWAC in 2021 and beyond was with Jackson State. Dion got them those couple of times. They still had winning seasons. Dion leaves and goes to Colorado. TC Taylor isn't fully ready to take the mantle of the SWAC yet. They beat Jackson State. They then have a phenomenal season. They go to the Celebration Bowl. They beat Howard. Willie Simmons leaves and becomes the running back coach, which is the same position that Drake Kendrick has. He becomes the running backs coach at Duke. And he said he did it to make himself, in contention for an FBS job in the future. That's why he left. He didn't want to just leave FAMU. He did it to sort of increase his chances of living his dream of coaching at the Power 5 level. They bring in James Colsey, who the players and a lot of the folks in the FAMU community wanted to be the coach. He comes in, Kiya. They had an okay first season. That second season was not good. And he's gone. And now you have Quinn Grave, who is a former FAMU great, coached at Albany State, led them to a fanatical run this past season. He is now the head coach of FAMU because of expectation. They didn't see the incremental success when it comes to recruits, when it comes to beating teams you're supposed to beat. They lose to Mississippi Valley State University twice. They lose to their rival in Bethune-Cookman in the Florida Classic, it wasn't a lot of incremental success. So they said, Cozy got to go. And now we're bringing in one of our heroes of this program who's now the former quarterback, and we saw success at Albany State. Now you're going to bring him into FAMU. You have a program that once wasn't winning over those past few years. Now they're winning. You bring in a new coach, you got to go after 2 seasons. Michael Vick is going to be safe because they weren't that good before him. They definitely weren't good this year. And we'll see what they do. We'll see what they do. We'll see what they do afterwards.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have laughed.
Just for that laugh, we ain't gonna beat you ever again. Like,
when I tell you, Michael Vick, Norfolk State, they're gonna send us a letter.
They're gonna send us a letter.
Yes, they're gonna say, y'all cannot say nothing else. They're gonna take my degree, please.
They'll take that's up and that's stuck. Nah.
They're gonna take my degree. Thank you.
I mean, you still proud of every team except the football team. I mean, like everything else Norfolk State is fire. Like they fire at athletics.
When I was there, like the girls' basketball team, crazy. It was this girl in my class. I think her name was Deja. My girl was a dog.
Mm-hmm.
My girl was a dog. Yes. If we get the football team together, my school spirit will like go up.
And then get this. Speaking of coaching changes, you have Larry Vickers, who was an alum of the men's basketball program at Norfolk State. He then becomes the head women's coach. They make history. They keep beating everybody. What happens? He doesn't just go to any school. He's now the head coach at Auburn women's basketball, which is a pretty big leap. And he did it right after Norfolk State lost to Maryland last year in March Madness. The next day, I was off that Sunday. I'm off on Sundays. I had to sign in, because it was so much news. I was like, yo, because I was coordinating with Clutch Points, a women writer, and she wrote one story about Larry Vickers saying something about, I think, respect for Norfolk State. Then I get the news he going to Auburn. I was like, did I read this right? Am I dreaming? He going to Auburn off Norfolk State? Like we getting somewhere, because Auburn they had to get right. But like it's possible, like it's very possible from Norfolk State, like to really get a lot of love and possibly some job offers. Robert Jones has also seen that too. He's still at Norfolk State. There was a lot of schools that were like, hey, we want you. You know what I mean? So like Michael Vick, if he turns it around, if he really sees himself going Power 5 and he turns this thing around, I think that maybe it could be in the cards for him. But just in general, like my final thoughts before I toss it to you, just going to close it out, is that I think that Michael Vick has to trust the process and has to not doubt himself. Real talk, like he's there for a reason. And I think he's in the best situation that he can be. If he can win in the MEAC and he finds a way to beat not even just Deshaun Jackson and Delaware State, if he finds a way to beat one of Chennis Berry's South Carolina State Bulldogs or Trey Oliver's North Carolina Central Eagles, or even both of them, he can beat anybody. He can literally go, and I'm not just hyping them up. Like these guys are really good coaches. They have really good teams. They recruit really great players. If you can beat them on a regular basis, you can win a national championship at the FBS level. You can make the college football playoffs. So this is probably the best training ground for Michael Vick, because you're going up against high-level coaches that have won HBCU national championships, and then you now have to recruit against your brother, your friend, your former teammate, your wide receiver in Philadelphia, because you're not the only celebrity in the conference. So Michael Vick can make it. I think he can. And I want him to make it, because like I said before when we talked about me being on the show last week, if he's good, it uplifts all of us. It makes people want to watch this show. It makes people want to go to all the other HBC pages, read the articles on Clutch Points, listen to the podcast. It's going to be a lot of interest. A lot of folks, instead of the clips being picked out on YouTube, they're going to ask us to come talk about it. They're going to ask you to come talk about what's going on. They will ask me to come talk about what's going on. That's the type of stuff that happens when these celebrities start to win. The attention comes, and that's just what happens. But he has to trust the process, stop doubting himself, bring people in that can be professional, and also stop playing favorites. And I think he'll be just fine. And I think he's going to win a minimum of 4 games next year. He's going to really look good in the out of conference slate. And I think he beats, I want to say again, I want to put this on record. I think that he beats Hampton in the Battle of the Bay. I think that he is going to beat Morgan State. I think he's going to beat Howard. It's up in the air if he beats South Carolina State, North Carolina Central, or Delaware State. I will reserve those picks for the fall.
Okay. I really don't have much else to say. It's been a great ride this last 8 weeks. So, hopefully we get a season 2 so we can do this again.
Do you think it's going to be a season 2?
Um, I honestly feel like, and again, no shade. I really feel like it all depends on how the season goes because I don't think people want to see. Granted, this is his first season, so of course people want to see like what happens, what happened. But I feel like if he doesn't have that great of a season again, nobody wants to see the behind the scenes of that. So I feel like a season 2 for this show will be contingent on how they do in the fall. So hopefully they get some wins and we get a season 2 so that way we can do this again.
I hope that Paramount doesn't play around with BET because I think that it's very possible, but we also have to look at not even just on the field thing. You got to look at what's going on with Paramount. You know, Paramount is absorbing BET Plus. It's not going to be a standalone service anymore, and then we know it's going to be a lot of cuts. And with this new ownership for Paramount, their anti DEI thing, do they consider BET DEI? Like think like,
It's just
think about
it's gonna be ET plus at this point. Like
ET Plus, Entertainment Television Plus,
that's the ET plus. Like,
and they already got Joe Rogan on there, Kaya. They just, I'm still salty. They saved me for episode 7. They put me on twice. They saved me for episode 7, but Joe Rogan got a whole voiceover. That's crazy. I'm just still ET. We gotta talk ET.
They gonna come and get you too.
Kaya, but they can come get me all they want to. Why did the Jesse Jackson in his own words special go off? And then I saw UFC on BET at like 11:30. Like I said, it wasn't 4:00. It wasn't 5:00 where all the girl is asleep. Okay, it was it was right when Martin was supposed to be on. You got the folks that's like, okay, this football stuff is off. Where's Martin? Oh, and that Jesse Jackson thing. Rest in peace, Jesse Jackson. Where's Martin? Where's Divorce Sisters? And they see it, white men kicking people in the head. It's crazy. Okay, like, and then Joe Rogan giving the voiceover. Like, what the world? It's already ET. It's already ET at night.
I told you ET at
ET after dark. Yeah.
Well, this has been so wonderful, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Because Randall, you are, yeah, I don't have nothing else to say. You were just too funny. Too funny for me.
8 straight weeks. We did it. 8 straight weeks. Listen, 8 straight weeks.
We did it, Joe. We did it.
We definitely did, and we made it on this show. That still is really dope to me. That was really dope. And I think once again, I want to say, I'm not just saying this. Said I think Smack Entertainment with what they had did a great job with the editing. I think with what they had, because they didn't have a lot. They didn't have a lot, and it's not their fault.
Literally.
It's not Joseph's fault. Okay, Joseph's watching. It ain't your fault, Joseph. You did a great job. Okay.
I'm so weak.
Okay, that's it. We gotta go. Kaya, where can we find you on social media, and how can we read your articles?
You can find me at Kaya on Fire on Instagram, Twitter, or X, TikTok, and you can read my articles at clutchpoints.com or thehbcpulse.com.